Hello guys, welcome back to another Roblox scripting tutorial. Today we will be going over referencing and properties. Okay, to start off you are going to need a script and you can name it whatever you want. You're going to need a spawn location. If you don't know how to do that, go to spawn. And you're going to need a part and name it my part. You can actually name it whatever you would like, but right now for simplicity we're going to name it my part. If you don't know how to name it, just go to the name or right click and click rename. Referencing is trying to find out where an object is. So let's say we want to get the object my part. First, the game is going to have to say, well, where is it located in all of these services? It doesn't know where to look for, so it's going to be like, should I look in players? Should I look in the server storage? Or should I look in chat? But we really want it to look into the workspace. So then it's going to open up the workspace and it's going to be like, well, what out of all these items is, like, what are you looking for? And it's going to actually be looking for my part. So we want to tell the script to first look at the game, and we're going to tell it the certain service it needs to look in, and then we're going to tell it the name. And then we're going to tell it what property it should change. First, we're going to create a variable and call it part. So this is the part we're going to try and change, and we're going to say game, which is saying the whole entire game. So all of these services, you can think of game as the Explorer window. Everything inside the Explorer window is the game. And then we're going to state our service. So we're going to tell the script to say, we're going to look in the workspace. So we're going to say game.workspace. Workspace is a service. And then we're going to tell it what we're looking for inside the workspace. So we can say .referencing, which is our script, but right now we're going to say my part, or say whatever you named your part. Let's say you named your part with a space. If you named your part with a space, it won't work. You won't be able to add a space inside your part. It will come out with an underline. So if you really like to add spaces to names, you can do these brackets and put quotations. Names of parts are strings, so whenever you're doing this, you're telling the workspace to look for a part with this name as the string. So now you can put my part. But keep in mind, you cannot add multiple spaces or it won't find it. You have to type it exactly how it is. So I just find it easier to not put spaces in my parts because it makes it easier. As you can see, you can say .m and it will automatically come up and you can just click on tab. So now that we have my part defined, let's change a property. Last time we went over what properties are and what they can do. So they can change colors, you can change the transparency, you can change if you can collide with that part or not, if you can touch it. Today we're going to change all of those values and see how we can change them in a script. So changing properties is very similar to referencing. You first go to part, and then you're going to have to say, well, what property do we want to change? Do we want to change brick color? Do we want to change name? Do we want to change the shape? Let's say we want to change the material. So we're going to say part.material is equal to. So you can look at the value of material and see that it is a string value because all of these are strings that we can change. So let's say we want to change our value to sand. So we're going to say part.material, and then we're going to add an equal sign and say plastic. And we're going to put it in a string value, so you can't just type it like that. You're going to have to say plastic. So whenever we run this script, originally we're going to see that it's we're going to have to change it to sand, sorry. So originally it's plastic, but if we run it, it's going to turn into sand. Pretty simple. Now, what if we want to change if we can collide with the part whenever we're playing in game? So if we can go through the part, or if we just stop whenever we touch it. So we're going to go with can collide. Can collide is basically if your player can collide with it. So we're going to do part.canCollide. And if you look down here, we can see it here. You can check it. But what if you want to change that in-game? So you do part.canCollide is equal to true, which means the player can collide with it, or false, which means they can't. So we're going to add a wait, and we're going to say wait 5. And so wait 10 to give us some more time. So when the game runs, it's going to wait 10 seconds, and then it's going to make it so the player can't collide with the part, and then it's going to wait 5 seconds, and then it's going to tell the script to make the player able to collide with the part. We're also going to change the transparency of the part so that we can see through it whenever we are walking. Transparency is basically if you can see through the part, how see-throughable it would be. Part.transparency is equal to, and we're gonna make the transparency we're gonna make it 0.5 because it makes it look like we are able to walk through the part. So we're gonna say is equal to 0.5, and that is an integer value, as we learned last time. And we're gonna say part.transparency is equal to 1. Or sorry, 0. You want it to be set to 0. So once we run it, or we're gonna spawn at the spawn point we did. So make sure the spawn point is next to the part. And we're gonna try and walk through our part. It's not gonna allow us to walk through, but if we wait 10 seconds, it's gonna allow us and change the transparency, so now we can walk through. But we got ourselves stuck because we stood in it too long, and now it's collidable, so we're stuck in the part. We can't walk through. If you want to see how this works, you can add a print statement and just say print part collidable, or not collidable. And then you can say print part collidable. And remember, Lua will run through the script line by line. So first it will say, okay, so you can't go like this. You can't reference your variable and put it down here because they're like, what is part? You never defined it. You have to put your variable above everything else. So the script is gonna say, okay, first we gotta look for this part in the game and the workspace and the part, and now it finds it. It's like, okay, the variable part is assigned to this actual part in the workspace, this. And then it's gonna say, we're gonna wait 10 seconds, which is gonna count to 10. And then it's gonna say, okay, this part, or you could even say game.workspace.myPart. But it's much easier to assign it to a variable. So it's gonna say game.workspace.myPart, and then it's gonna say, okay, it does have a variable. It does have a property of can collide, and we're gonna set it to false. And then it's gonna say, oh, we're also gonna set the transparency to 0.5, and then we're gonna print part not collidable. And then it's gonna wait 4 seconds, and then it's gonna do this, and this, and this. Now, most of the time, whenever people learn about properties and referencing, they're like, let's go and change the orientation, position, color, brick color, and they're like, okay, we're just gonna go into it, and we're gonna say part.position, and then we're just gonna add a position is equal to this, and we're like, oh my gosh. But then they'll be like, why isn't it working? It should work. Well, we're gonna talk about how you can change the position later on because it's a little bit more advanced. Same with orientation, which is rotation. But today we're gonna cover brick color. So brick color is a little bit different as well. So you're gonna say part.brickcolor, and we're gonna delete all this so that we have a nice, simple way to change it. We're gonna say part.brickcolor is equal to, as we normally do. And then we're gonna say brick color, which is kind of confusing. Like, why don't you just have it at string? Because all the brick color, this is all the brick colors you can have. So let's say we want to change our brick color to really red. We're gonna say brickcolor.new. And this is used a lot of times. So in later videos, we're gonna learn about instance.new, and we're gonna learn about how you can do vector3.new. And we can also learn about cframe.new. There's so many different ways that Lua uses this .new thing, but it just creates a new value basically. So it's like we're gonna make a new brick color value, and we're gonna assign it to this part. So we're gonna say really red. You can only use out of these reds. So we're gonna say really red, and we're gonna put in our thing in strings really red, and you see it'll come up. So now whenever we play it, run it, it's gonna change that part to really red. And damn. Now what if you wanted to change the color? It's not as straightforward because you have all these numbers that you can do. If you're familiar with different types of how colors work in computers, you know that there's RGB, HSV, and hex. Now HSV would be the hue, the saturation, and the value, and then the RGB is just the red colors, the green colors, and the blue colors. And hex is kind of a little bit different, but I do know that you can do color is equal to, just how you normally do with the brick color, and then you're gonna do color3.new, or not .new. You can do .new, but most of the time you want to do from HSV or from RGB. So from HSV would be the hue one, so the hue, saturation, and value. So you can click on this little color wheel instead of having to type in these numbers and like find where they are. Or you can also do art from RGB. And click on this color wheel and change it to however you would like. So it's going to change it to that pink. And we're going to add a wait so that it isn't instantaneous. Wait for. And when we run our script, it's going to change it to red. Oh. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Typo. We're going to run the game and it's going to go red, and then it's going to change to that pinkish color. Now, that's pretty much it with color, but there's one more thing you can do with brick color. Not with color 3, but with brick color you can do this cool thing called brick color.random. Whenever you do that, it will generate a random brick color. So you can do wait, and let's say you want to wait 5 seconds. And then we're going to copy this code and add wait 1. We're just going to copy that. We're just going to do this. So we'll learn how to loop this in a bit, but this is how you can make a cool disco brick. It won't be looped, but it will be kind of cool and it will change. So it'll just change random brick colors without you having to assign it to a table or make a ton of writing these out and making a ton of stuff, values. So that's a cool thing you can do. And that's pretty much referencing and properties right now, all you need to know. Later we will get on to how you can do orientation and position with C-frame and vector values. You can also get into other things like how you can create new parts and assign values to that. But right now, all you need to do is practice making these parts and just practice, because that's the best thing you can do in scripting. You'll never remember all of this if you don't practice. So thank you for watching my video. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the next videos, please comment them, and thank you for watching.